The first part of the Captain and Warden developers' diaries have arrived on the forums, and in this video we're going to go through the Captain and the Warden initial dev diaries and look at all the changes. We're going to start out with the Captain and the developer diaries for Captain. First up, we have an intro. Hello everyone, I'm On MacMahal. On MacMahal is the developer who's working on the Captain and the Warden, and I'm here to start talking about the upcoming Captain class changes. The Captain is a unique class. Captains are flexible melee warriors and healers, focused on supporting allies rather than maximizing personal output. And this is true, the Captain playstyle is more of supporting instead of shining on their own. While each trait specialization should be able to competently fulfill its primary role, which would be healing in blue line, dealing damage in red line, holding threat and mitigating damage in yellow line. They should each retain a focus on supporting allies rather than being entirely self-sufficient. We don't want to lose sight of this core element. Even when wading straight into a melee, Captains embody the sacrifices of leading by example while staying out of the spotlight in order to make their allies shine. Captains are team players through and through. So even though we're getting changes to the Captain, they still want to keep the core support feeling of the class. Current state overview of the Captain. Why make any changes to the Captain, you ask? Captains make great tanks, and I always see requests for Red Captain in LFF. While this might be true, they do make really great tanks, especially for 6-mans and 3-mans, they're by far the best tanks. I feel like the Red Cappy role is kind of has fallen away a bit, and especially in raids, you might not even see a Red Cappy at all. But it is still getting played. Blue Cappy, I know some raid groups might try with a Blue Cappy for some nice healing, but you don't really see blue captains around currently. Captains specializing in Hands of Healing, which is blue line, make great raid group support healers, providing lots of passive AoE healing, but fail to keep up with other main healers when it comes to single target healing and responding to large damage spikes. Additionally, some of the specialization's core mechanics like Inspiriting Presence and Valor are semi-passive, making them hard to account for or plan around, and ultimately making them feel unreliable and unhelpful in moments where you can really need them. And yeah, this is true about Blue Cappy. Currently, really good, really strong passive healing, AoE healing for your group, but not really good for burst healing a single tank. That's one of the big problems from Blue Cappy right now. Captains specializing in Lead the Charge, which is red line, make fantastic raid group DPS supporters, provided your primary DPS players are physical damage dealers. Redline Captain support unfortunately doesn't extend as well to tactical damage classes, and the value of a red Captain drops, this is a hard word for me, precipitously as your group size decreases. A solo Captain, even fully equipped in offensive gear, who is questing, delving, or fighting monster players on their own, will struggle to produce meaningful damage, even when compared to a non-DPS specialization of some other classes. This is also true, they have really good DPS support, but they struggle supporting tactical, because some of their interactions actually work better on physical damage dealers, such as Blade Brother's Call. That's an obvious problem, and of course, most people know Captain by themselves don't really have good damage, and this needs changing badly. Captains specializing in Leader of Men, which is a yellow line, tank line, make wonderful tanks for multiple group sizes. This specialization is by far the most broadly useful of all current Captain specializations, without regard for content type or group size. However, gameplay for the Yellow Line Captain still suffers from the lack of a second skill to open battle-ready state, as well as a relative dearth of defensive mechanics compared to other tank specializations. Much of the value that a yellow captain brings to the group comes from Motivate, a passive buff that's not an interactive combat mechanic, their in-combat rests, which can act as a full reset for 3-person groups, and the benefits from always-on skills and effects like On Guard, Inspire, Revealing Mark, and Battle-Hardened damage reduction. This is also pretty much true. Captains are the kings of 3 and 6 mans as tanks, and they're also good for raids. They do lack a second skill to open battle ready. Right now they only have Battle Shout, and of course Motivate, which is a big problem compared to what other tanks give. Motivate is 10% morale boost to your whole group, which is really strong for a tank passive. They're also the only tank with a res, and that's also a double res, which is really powerful. And he also mentions the On Guard passive buff, Inspire, Revealing Mark. There's a lot of healing, and there's res, and there's Motivate, which makes Cappy super strong. So I'm thinking we might see some changes to these skills, hopefully. But basically, the current state overview is Blue Captain needs more burst healing, Red Captain needs more damage, and Yellow Captain is probably a bit too strong. With the current state in mind, what are then the goals of the captain? Captains need a moderate damage increase across the board. Regardless of trait specialization, you should feel like you're wielding a weapon of war. Now, I would agree with this, especially a red captain needs a damage bump for sure. Though the ability to summon a herald is a long-standing aspect of the class, players shouldn't feel over-reliant on their herald. Especially when solo, your herald should feel like they're augmenting you and supporting you, not tying up half your skills and leaving you completely useless every time they decide to wander off or get stuck in a corner. I like this line here. I don't like the herald pet, to be honest. I don't like how reliant you are. If you're playing solo, you have to Blade Brother your herald to get some of your skills like 2 arms, etc. And I would like to see captains being less reliant on the pet. For Hands of Healing captains, we want to improve your capacity to fulfill a main healer role. That means increasing your healing to your shield brother, improving your ability to react to large amounts of damage in a short window, and reducing some of your passive always-on AoE healing. You should also be rewarded for playing like the aggressive frontline melee leader you are. So what I'm seeing here, they want Blue Captain to be able to be the main healer in a group, and that means you're going to do more healing to whoever you put as your shield brother, so that makes sense. You put shield brother on your tank, and you can heal your tank more, and also less passive always on AoE healing and more burst. Sounds good. You should also be rewarded for playing like the aggressive frontline melee leader that you are. This leads me to believe that being in the front and actually dealing damage will have you do some sort of healing, more healing in that way. That could be interesting. For Lead the Charge captains, which is red line, we plan to add a solo stance that dramatically improves your personal damage output at the cost of group-wide support. So this probably means you have a stance that you can put on to do more damage on your own, but kind of lessen your group support. If you want to play more of a group support, you would have to untoggle this solo stance. When running on your own, you gain little to no benefit from group or allied oriented skills, so replacing those with personal damage comes at no cost when you're alone. When you're in a group, we still want the group support to outweigh the benefits of this stance, but in cases like 3-person groups, you still ought to be able to fill a damage roll yourself by foregoing group support, since you might as well have no DPS specialized allies in that scenario. It seems to me that the goal with this solo stance is to be using this when you're questing on your own in landscape or doing delvings. If you're doing a 3-man, this would probably also be the stance you would be in if you're the DPS, while if you're a red captain in a 6-man, you would probably be torn between solo or supporting your allies, and in a raid, it seems like the goal would be to be playing the support role instead of the solo stance. So to me, this seems like a good idea to solve a captain problem. And of course, you could also play this solo stance in a raid, depending on the damage that you can deal. For Leader of Men Captains, which is yellow line tanking, there are no major concerns we have about your current ability to fulfill the role of tank, so changes will be focused around smaller quality of life adjustments and changes. We want you to be able to more actively rotate through battle states and for your core/frequent skills to have a greater impact on your role efficiency, so they don't end up feeling like inconsequential filler. And once again, Yellow Captain is fine, but in my opinion a bit too OP for 6-mans and 3-mans maybe. So some small changes, I honestly hope Captain Res gets a little bit of a change. I don't like a tank having a double res. That's my opinion. It kind of gives them such an advantage over the other tanks, especially for 3-mans and 6-mans. But to me, these goals seem fine. These goals seem to be what we need. We need red line to be better. We need blue line to be better. Yellow line is good currently, so maybe some small changes there just to make it a bit better, more quality of life. And we have a summary at the end. Captains have a lot to love, so don't expect things to change too drastically. We want you to be able to shine in all 3 specializations in all sort of content. That said, we're looking forward to sharing a more detailed look at what's coming soon. For now, thanks for reading. This was our introduction to the captain and the changes coming up. There's a new forum post down here that will get updated as we get closer to Friday and the Q&A with the Cordovan. But for now, this is all we know about captain. They're keeping all their lines. Blue line wants to have more burst, red line wants to have more damage, yellow line is pretty much fine. We also had a little tease by On MacMahal. He posted this screenshot in the Ghynverse. Well, not exactly this screenshot that I have here, but the bottom 4. They posted those icons, which are the Cleanse Corruption from Captain is this new icon. Reform the lines, I don't really see any difference right now. But he probably wants to write this up a bit too. Valiant Strike has changed quite a bit to make it look more like a healing skill, and Gallant Display as well, turning more into like a green type of skill. So making healing skills kind of look green. I'm guessing maybe the Reform the Lines will also have more of a green colored theme. These are just some new icons that he teased in my Discord server. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to help out the channel. Leave a like, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghynverse is a community Discord server for the game Lord of the Rings Online. In this server, you'll find anything from giveaways. There's also a frequently asked questions channel that I would recommend checking out first. You'll be able to see when I put out new YouTube videos, whenever I stream. You can also ask for the streamer role, and you'll be able to post your own streams in this server for everyone to see. There's currently over 5,000 members in this Discord, and it keeps growing. You will also find discussion channels about the game, LOTRO. You can ask any questions in the help channel. There's discussions for every single class in the game and PvP. But one of the best things about this server is the best in slot items section. In this section you can find trait lines for every single class. You will find screenshots of the current best gear being displayed. In this channel you'll find charts showing what stats you need for your characters, mitigations, mastery crit, finesse, but you'll also find useful information about drop rates in different instances. I hope you will consider joining my server, and maybe one day I'll see you in Middle Earth.